Fundamentally, in the past, the people who won wars were the people who had the most men and the most material.
Right.
So you just needed the most soldiers and you needed the most equipment. And in this drone world that we're talking about, it's going to be the people with the most money and the best technology.
Yeah.
Right. And so, for example, small states, small advanced states like Singapore will be able to punch way above their weight.
Once air power belonged to rich nations, today a plywood, prop-driven drone built from commercial parts can shut down a city. Iran's Shahed didn't win by being elegant, it won by being cheap, and now everyone's racing to copy it. So much so that the world's richest man, Elon Musk, posted that drones are the future of warfare and that manned fighter jets are obsolete. Hyperbole maybe, but the battlefield maths backs him up. Cheap, long-range precision saturation strikes are one of the greatest threats to international security. Let's dive in deeper how Iran built a drone empire under sanctions, why Russia mass produces this drone, and why the West is scrambling to copy it, and how this cheap swarm logic could change every war, every budget, and every border in the next decade. By doing so, it democratizes the future of global security, leaving the world's most powerful country behind. Also, many of you are probably wondering, where are the Chinese drones? After all, we're used to hearing about how Chinese are manufacturing everything cheaper and better quality than most countries of the world. But more on that as well. In the past, Iran was dismissed by many as a second-tier military power, constrained by sanctions, outdated technology, and economic isolation. Yet today, its drones are cheap, deadly, and increasingly effective. They're being used in conflicts stretching from Eastern Europe to the Middle East. That turnaround didn't happen by chance. It was born out of necessity. In the 1980s, as Iran fought for survival after the 1979 revolution, the regional balance looked stark. Saddam Hussein's Iraq received quiet but significant backing from the West. He received intelligence sharing, Gulf money, and even high-profile diplomatic contacts. Donald Rumsfeld visited Saddam in Baghdad in 1983, a handshake that symbolized Washington's willingness to back Iraq's war effort. Ironically, later as Secretary of Defense under George W. Bush, Rumsfeld played a central role in the 2003 invasion of Iraq and the overthrow of his earlier buddy, Saddam Hussein. Tehran, by contrast, was cut off by sanctions and diplomatic isolation, where Baghdad could access these spare parts, satellite feeds, and external suppliers. Iran faced shortages that crippled its conventional air force and made buying of modern jets or missiles impossible. Out of that scarcity came improvisation. Iranian engineers turned to homegrown solutions. First, crude reconnaissance UAVs, then progressively more capable strike designs. The breakthrough came in the following decades when Iran captured several foreign drones. Most famously, in 2011, the Iranian forces downed a United States RQ-170 Sentinel, one of the most advanced stealth drones in the world. This pattern of acquiring foreign tech, dismantling it and repurposing it became the backbone of Iran's drone program. By the 2000s, Tehran was no longer just experimenting. It was producing operational drones that could carry weapons, conduct surveillance, and travel long distances. Iran's drone arsenal is vast, but three names stand out. The first is the Mohajer 6, a mid-sized drone capable of carrying precision-guided munitions. It resembles the US and Israeli design with a range of around 200 kilometers. While it's not revolutionary, it showed Iran's ability to build reliable, combat-ready UAVs. UAVs, by the way, are unmanned aerial vehicles. Then came the Shahed 129. This is often called Iran's Predator drone. It's similar to the America's MQ-1 Predator, and it can carry multiple bombs and stay airborne for over 20 hours. The Shahed 129 marked Iran's transition from the short-range surveillance drones to that long endurance strike platforms. But the most famous of Iran's arsenal is the Shahed 136, a kamikaze drone. Unlike the other UAVs that carry missiles, the Shahed is a weapon itself. It's roughly around 11 feet long with a distinctive delta wing. It can carry more than 100 pounds of explosives and follows pre-programmed GPS routes to its target. Iran claims it can strike as far as 1,500 miles away, which makes it capable of hitting cities or infrastructure deep behind enemy lines. What makes the Shahed remarkable is not its sophistication, but its simplicity. Built from commercial parts, it's basically a 4-piston engine, a wooden or carbon fiber frame, and a propeller. And each unit costs between $20,000 to $50,000. It's a fraction of that cruise missile's price. And they're expendable. They're launched in groups from trucks, sometimes rocket boosted before the engine takes over. Individually, they seem to be slow and vulnerable, but when you deploy them in swarms, they basically saturate the enemy's defenses, and they force opponents to waste expensive interceptors and expose that brutal arithmetic of modern war. This low-cost, high-impact approach has made the Shahed 136 Iran's most notorious export. If a $50,000 drone forces you to fire a $500,000 interceptor, who's really winning? Iranian drones are no longer an experiment. They're a weapon class that has been used across multiple theaters with dramatic effect. In Syria, they struck rebel positions at the time and hardened targets. In Yemen, the Houthis launched them and crippled the Saudi oil infrastructure in 2019 and demonstrated how a handful of low-cost UAVs can produce strategic shock. The most consequential theater has been Ukraine. Since 2022, Moscow has bought and deployed thousands of Shahid-type loitering munitions to strike power stations, logistic hubs, and civilian infrastructure in Kiev. For Russia, they're an economical substitute for scarce cruiser missiles. For Ukraine, they've been that repetitive tactic that has degraded its infrastructure, it's complicated its recovery, and it's frayed civilian morale. The buzzing approach of these drones creates a persistent psychological toll. Every sortie is a reminder that critical services and homes are vulnerable. Now, defenders have adapted in surprising ways. Old anti-aircraft guns and radar-directed artillery have shot down many of the incoming weapons. And the clever layering of low-cost joint defenses, electronic jamming, and improved sensor nets has blunted dozens of these salvos. But the hard truth remains: its scale strains systems. Dozens of simultaneous contact forces the commanders to choose where to concentrate the scarce interceptors that they have, and even successful interceptions are expensive. That maths, cheap massed attackers versus costly interceptors and wide area protection is reshaping how militaries are thinking about their air defenses. Across battlefields, the countermeasures race is accelerating. Distributed sensors, counter-drone guns, cheaper interceptors, decoys, and experiments with directed energy weapons and automated point defense systems are all in play. The technology is changing very quickly, but the strategic lesson is clear. Drones have shifted the target set from a purely military asset to the systems that sustain civilian life, and that change will force planners to reconceive defense in both technical and moral terms. So viewers ask, where are China's drones in this story? Well, China dominates the commercial market and fields advanced military UAVs like the Wing Loong 2 and CH-4. These are comparable to the United States Reapers and Predators. These systems can carry precision missiles, fly at high altitudes, and provide long-endurance surveillance. They're much more sophisticated, but also much more expensive. They're often millions of dollars per unit. Iran is specializing in loitering munitions like that Shahed 136, and they may be crude compared to the Chinese designs, but they're extremely cheap. The Iranian drones rely on being commercial parts put together and mass-produced. They're not designed for multi-role missions like the Chinese drones, but they're aiming for saturation to overwhelm the air defense through sheer numbers. Iranian drones are cheaper, they're expendable, and they're better suited for attrition warfare. And that's why Iran's drones have made the headlines. They've changed the battlefield economics, not just the tactics. The Shaheds have rewired the military thinking. Within months of its mass use in Ukraine, governments and companies across North America, Europe, and Asia began racing to build Shahed-style loitering munitions, simple delta-wing kamikaze drones which are designed for mass production. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth wrote a memo in July calling for the US to bolster its drone manufacturing base and for combat units to be armed with a variety of American-made low-cost UAVs. At a Pentagon event this summer, 18 American prototypes were unveiled, including the Lucas drone from Phoenix-based SpectreWorks. It was explicitly pitched as a low-cost alternative. Griffin Aerospace is developing the Arrowhead with that same triangular wing profile, while Britain's MG Engineering is promoting its faster Skyshark. Western firms argue that their drones are superior, they're faster, they're more accurate and harder to hit. But higher costs remain the problem. Where Russia and Iran can field these Shahed derivatives for under $60,000 each, Western designs often can climb into the six-figure range. In the economics of drone warfare, the Shahed simplicity remains its strongest weapon. And here is where Iranian drones shine. That traditional air power is expensive. A modern fighter jet costs tens of millions of dollars. A cruise missile can run into the millions. But Iran's Shahed drones, they're just a fraction of that cost. This asymmetry forces adversaries into a costly dilemma. To shoot down a $20,000 drone often requires an interceptor missile worth several $100,000. In some cases, nations are spending more money defending themselves against the Iranian drones than Iran or its clients spent deploying those drones. That price gap is real and it's strategic. American-made loitering drones, or the UAVs, are often bundled with support systems that raise the cost above $500,000 per unit. In other words, every time Iran spends thousands, its adversaries may be spending millions. Now take the US Reaper drone, for example. When it's loaded, its maximum capacity, it's over 20 times the weight and double the speed of the Shahed 136. Its purpose is not only to strike a target, but to also assist in intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and combat such rescue and be able to be used numerous times. But it costs $30 million a piece. Compare that to the Shahed. This cost imbalance has shifted the dynamics of warfare. Suddenly, a nation under sanctions and with limited resources can impose disproportionate costs on its enemies. Iran's not keeping this technology to itself. It has become a leading exporter of drones to allied groups and partner nations. Whether it's Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, Iraq, and Syria, several states have now become direct customers. Venezuela has publicly paraded its Mohajer 6 drones, which are the Iranian designed and built, as proof of its partnership with Tehran. Sudan and Ethiopia have reportedly acquired UAVs to aid in their internal conflicts. In 2022, Tajikistan announced it would host a factory producing Ababil 2 drones locally, the first time that Iran has openly established an overseas production line. Now, what happens when this logic spreads to every battlefield, from Middle East to Asia to Europe? Iran's most significant partnership is with Russia. Facing shortages of precision weapons in Ukraine, Moscow turned to Tehran. Iranian drones are now a staple of Russia's military campaign, and it goes deeper. Moscow isn't just buying drones, it's building them. After signing agreements with Tehran, Russia began producing Shahed derivatives in its own factories. Reports suggest plans for as many as 6,000 units by 2025. And they're incorporating upgrades like improved GPS resistance and active seekers for greater accuracy. Now, what makes the Iranian exports distinctive is, of course, not their sophistication, but their accessibility. Unlike Chinese drones, which are marketed to states with significant defense budgets, Iran's UAVs are designed for affordability, transferability, and mass use. They can be shipped in parts, assembled abroad, and operated with minimal training. For nations or groups facing sanctions, isolation, or Western arm restrictions, this makes Iran an attractive supplier. Through these exports, Iran has gained not just money, but also geopolitical influence. And the effect is twofold. On the battlefield, Iranian drones multiply the capabilities of states and militias that otherwise lack advanced air power. On the diplomatic stage, every export strengthens Tehran's hand. It creates dependency for Iran. It forges alliances, and it expands its influence far beyond its borders. Now, Western manufacturers are trying to adapt. Sweden's Saab now markets drones that are built specifically to mimic Shaheds for training exercises, and they're allowing militaries to practice against realistic threats. Britain's Skyshot or France's MBDA are producing affordable mass missiles, and US is setting up some prototypes which are all being pitched as answers to the Shahed problem. But labor and material costs, along with the temptation to add features, mean that few of them can match Iran's ruthless efficiency yet. Defense company Anduril Industries sold 291 of its Altius long-range drones to Taiwan last year in a deal that valued the UAVs at more than $1 million each, which included training and support infrastructure. Now, Western manufacturers can argue as much as they want that their drones' superior performance is worth the extra spending. So, for example, the UK's MGI Engineering long-range drone Skyshot can fly at 280 miles an hour compared to the 115 miles per hour for the Shahed 136. Now, that makes it harder to hit. But they're not getting it. Iran and Russia are aiming for the cheap and cheerful model. That is, you make them cheap enough that you overwhelm your enemy and you don't care if some of them or most of them get shot down. In response to the Russian drones, the Ukrainians have also started making cheap drones, including the first-person view attack drones and marine drones. These are simple as well, and they're made up of commercial parts, most of it Chinese parts. They can carry smaller loads than the Iranian drones, and unfortunately, they also travel shorter speeds for the Ukrainians. But they're still surprisingly effective. So much so that the United States is actively pursuing with them the option of licensing the technology or getting Ukrainian companies to make the technology for them. Ukrainians produced around 2 million of these last year. They can produce these at 20 to 30% of the cost of most Western companies. The rise of Iranian drones raises profound questions about the future of war. If a nation under sanctions can develop such impactful weapons, what happens when others follow? Drones are leveling the playing field. They allow weaker states and even non-state actors to challenge powerful militaries at a fraction of the cost. The age of air dominance, which was once reserved for superpowers, is being democratized. Iran's drones may not be the most advanced. They may not be the most stealthy, not supersonic, and not indestructible. But their effectiveness lies in their accessibility, being expendable and available in numbers that can overwhelm even the most sophisticated defenses. They show that in modern warfare, volume and cost efficiency can be just as decisive as technological sophistication. In the coming years, drones will not only become more central to warfare, nations are already scrambling to adapt, to invest in counter-drone warfare systems, electronic warfare, and even laser weapons to stop these swarms of cheap UAVs. But no matter what comes next, Iran's already achieved something remarkable. From those ashes of sanctions and isolation, it's built a drone program that is reshaping global conflict. For Tehran, this has been a revolution born out of necessity. For the world, it's a warning. The age of mass, affordable drones has arrived. Thank you for joining me. I'm Najma Minhas with GVS Deep Dive. Do share your comments and thoughts with me. Have a great day.